The next name in Sri Vishnu Sahasranama is Avyayah. The previous one was Paramatma. So we find these two words similarly juxtapositioned in Sri Bhagavad Gita. Paramatmayam Avyayah. This name, Avyayah, describes a prime quality of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by which He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by which He is Paramatma. Yeah, so this and all the other names in Vishnu Sahasranama explain how He, Vishnu, is Paramatma. Vishnu is decidedly the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If we were to discuss the qualities of Krishna, then we would discuss less about the glory and the majesty, but more about the sweetness and the beauty by which His status as the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears to be diminished, or maybe He's not the Supreme Personality of Godhead at all. That's even Brahma became bewildered in thinking that He's not the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But then, in the course of demonstrating to Brahma that actually Krishna, this little cowherd boy, is actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he showed to Brahma many thousands of Vishnu forms expanded from Him. So it's important for us to understand how Vishnu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and He's non-different from, but nevertheless not, He's non-different from Krishna, but nonetheless Krishna is the original form. And He's more than God. God is the Supreme, so how can anyone be more than God? But Krishna is God with more still. In other words, whatever we can imagine as God, plus more is Vishnu, and then in a whole different dimension is Krishna. So, Avyayah, what does it mean? You're all sitting on the edge of your asans in suspense to hear what is the meaning of this name. Well, there are several meanings. Vyay means expense. You all Hindi speakers all know this word. When you spend something, you become diminished. If you have 100 rupees in your pocket, you don't have very much these days. But if you spend 50, then you only have 50 left. You've become depleted. But Bhagavan never becomes depleted. Even though He appears to expend, He gives off. Everything emanates from Him. He performs activities, but He doesn't become, He has so many Shaktis. Parasya Shakti Vividhaiva Shruyate Swabhavaki Jnana Balakriya Cha. By the Supreme has various energies, Parasya, which are described in various ways. Principal among which are His energy of power, energy of action, energy of knowledge. Of course, they're described in Shastra elsewhere. Nila, Ila, Tushti, Pushti, and so on. The different energies of Krishna. But He doesn't become diminished by expending them. Inexpendable, non-depleting. Another important meaning of Avyayah is that he is indestructible. So these Avinashi. Avinashi tu tadviti yena sarvanidam tatam vinasham avyayasya. You say in the same verse. In the same verse, these two were. You just were using that word for indestructible. Avinashi. So in the Bhagavad Gita also describing the soul, he is known to be Avinashi and also described as Avyayah in the same verse. So there's slightly different meanings. Avinashi means indestructible. And Avyayah also means indestructible, but in the sense, it's just like there are different ways of destroying. One way is to shoot someone dead, and the other is just to let them die a natural death. If you want to see someone dead. So one is instant destruction, and the other is ongoing destruction. In Bhagavatam, that's called Nitya Pralay. There are different kinds of destruction. One of them is the one that's going on at every moment. In everyone's body, at every moment, there is destruction. And when the destruction becomes more than the repletion, then that's called old age. And when there's no more repletion, and then it's called death. So the fading away. Just like you have money, you spend it little by little by little. A rich man becomes a poor man, and then a complete pauper. But so then this is how death comes also. The energy is expended, the bodily organs become depleted, and then there's not enough left to maintain the life, and the body dies. But that doesn't happen with the Supreme. There's we can call it a philosophy, but it's the kind of thing that goes on in the name of philosophy in the Western world. There's a philosophy that God is dead, coming out of the Western world. But God never dies. If he dies, he's not God. So, the Supreme, he's in control of all the energies, including the energies by which everything is depleted. What is that energy? Time. He is time. That name will come later in Vishnu Sahasranama. So, he's not an entity who diminishes and then ceases, but rather, he's not an entity. Now, an example. Temperamental, huh? It's Devata controlling everything. So an example in the material world is the sun, which gives out tremendous energy. In 1 second, the amount of energy that the sun gives out is more than it gives to the earth during the whole length of existence, or the duration of existence of the earth. Because the earth is only 0.000 few zeros, and then 1% of the area that the sun gives out energy to. You can imagine, in the whole universe, the earth is just a tiny little point, and the sun is giving out energy multilaterally all over the universe. So the amount of energy we get from the sun is tremendous by our estimation, but it's only a tiny, tiny fraction of the energy that the sun is constantly emitting and goes on emitting over eons. But in course of time, the sun will also cease to give out energy. It's not that according to modern scientists, it will burn up in due course of time. But according to the Bhagavatam version, it's not exactly that the sun just runs out of energy, but just it comes time for the end of the universe. So at that time, the sun ceases to burn. But Krishna is like the sun, gives out tremendous energy, but does not become diminished. Rather, his potency always increases. And that is unimaginable. It defies the known laws of physics. That the scientists are always trying to find out some kind of energy source that the magic touch. They can produce energy without putting in more energy. Just like to get electricity, we have to either capture the energy of the sun or the waves or the wind, or we have to burn some coal or oil or smash an atom or something. We have to take some energy and channel that. But if we could produce energy without having to destroy some other energy, that's the scientist's dream. But it's beyond their imagination how to do that. But Krishna, his energy is always increasing. His potencies are always increasing. He doesn't become depleted, rather his love, his sweetness, his beauty, they're always increasing. His knowledge, his power. Although they're already unlimited, that's another mathematical impossibility, which Krishna doesn't bother about. That although he has infinite powers, infinite everything, it's always increasing. Infinite and more infinite. If you don't believe me, go and argue with Krishna. He has a place for you. You can go and discuss it while you're being ground in big stones in hell. You see, you can discuss. He's not infinite. They're whipping him. You can go and discuss it. You can come back as a worm in stool and discuss the molecular composition of the stool. So, this name, Avyayah, means indestructible. All these names, they slap the Mayavadis in the face, because one of the theories of the Mayavadis, which are all wrong, everything they they do say some things correctly, but when they try to describe Krishna, they inevitably make serious mistakes. So the Mayavadis, they think that Vishnu avatars, and Krishna, they are a manifestation of the ultimate, impersonal. They manifest and they go back. But if he goes back, then that means his form is not eternal. So this is it means it's Vyaya. It has it has a purpose for some time, and then when it no longer has any function, it ceases to exist. So Avyayah is also a synonym of eternal. So it's not that they made a mistake to describe, to presume that from the unmanifest comes the manifest, and then the manifest goes back. But he is Satchit Ananda Vigraha. His form is eternal, blissful, conscious form. So this idea that from the impersonal has come the avatars, they come from the unmanifest. This is refuted by this term, Avyayah. Now this term, Avyayah, it's used, we find it repeatedly in Bhagavatam and in Bhagavad Gita, not only to refer to Krishna, but also to the Atma, to knowledge, to Bhakti, to Brahman, to the spiritual world. So, not only is Krishna indestructible, but everything in relation to him also. The spiritual nature, everything that is spiritual is indestructible, in contrast with everything of this material world which is destructible. So in Bhagavad Gita, that verse, I quoted it, you weren't quoting it. Vinasham avyayasya na kaschid kartamarhati. Referring to the soul. Avinashi tu tadviti yenasam sarvamidam tatam. Vinasham avyayasya na kaschid kartamarhati. Referring to knowledge. Who can think it's a well-known verse in which Krishna refers to the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita as Avyayah. In Bhagavad Gita, imam vivasvate yogam proktavan aham avyayam. I spoke this knowledge long ago to Vivasvan. It's indestructible knowledge. In the next verse, Krishna says, Evam parampara praptam imam rajashayo viduhu sakale nehmata yoga nashta parantapa. This yoga in due course of, or in a long course of time, or due to the mighty force of time, became destroyed. So what's to be understood here is that knowledge of that knowledge, or that became destroyed in human society. Not that the knowledge becomes destroyed. It's not that what Krishna speaks in Bhagavad Gita is true at one point in time, but later in time it becomes untrue. Just like if you say that, let's give a almost contemporary example. A few years ago, if we were to say that Bonn is the capital of West Germany, that would be true. But Bonn is still there, but the German Federal Republic, which was generally known as West Germany, is no longer known by that name, and Berlin is the capital of Germany. So it's the knowledge that was correct at one point in time no longer has any meaning. And even you can give the name of some city, and in due course of time the city itself won't exist. In due course of time the country won't exist. But the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita continues to exist, although the context in which it was spoken to Vivasvan is different to that of which it was spoken to Arjuna. So the verses might not be exactly the same. Where, for instance, Krishna, he may not be addressing Vivasvan as Parantapa. He might do, because it's a name for Kshatriyas, and Vivasvan is also a Kshatriya. But but it's not expected that Krishna was exhorting Vivasvan to fight. So the knowledge is the same, although the presentation might be somewhat different. So the soul is indestructible, the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, bhakti is indestructible. Susukam kartam avyayam. Bhakti, this is a very important point about bhakti, because whatever result, favorable or desired result one gets from karma, jnana or yoga is destructible. It doesn't remain forever. But bhakti, that result will stay. If one performs any bhakti, that is one's eternal benefit. And Krishna himself, Nidhanam Bijam Avyayam, he is the indestructible seed. This is an interesting statement. If we consider a seed, of course in Sanskrit the word bija, seed, it's used in a similar way to English, where seed can mean the seed of a plant, and it also means the seed, means the seminal injection by which a male injects a female, and the semen mixes with the ovum, and in mammals, by this process, an embryo is formed and a child is born. So in both cases, the seed, once it starts to fructify, ceases to be a seed. That reminds me, there's a ripe fig on the tree over there. Did you see it? So, if you see a tree, there's a tree, champa tree. Where's the seed? Where is this? The seed is no longer there. By transformation, it's become destroyed. Destruction is one kind of transformation. There are the Shardavika, the 6 kinds of transformations, or phases that any object goes through. That is birth, growth, sustenance, production of byproducts, dwindling and death. So any living organism in this mature world goes through that. Krishna doesn't go through that. That's already one of his names. I didn't discuss that much. Vashatkara. So one derivation of that name is he who is free from the 6 transformations. So he's not subject to, although he gives the life, but he himself doesn't become transformed, because he is the bija, he is the seed in a subtle sense. He is this term virya, that's also used for semen. So what is it that gives the life? Where's the life actually coming from? Jivo jivasya jivanam. The life of all life is Krishna. So he is the seed which does not become transformed. He remains able to, by giving life, he doesn't become diminished or destroyed. He's able to go on giving life. Then Brahmano hi pratishtaham amritasya Avyayasya cha. Brahman is also indestructible and undiminishing. And Krishna is the basis of that. The spiritual world, Krishna describes in Bhagavad Gita as Padam Avyayam, the place which is not subject to destruction, which there's no diminishing. We still haven't understood how in the spiritual world you can pick flowers from the tree and make a garland. You do it every day or maybe several times a day for Krishna. And the flowers, they don't die. And so there's some corner of the spiritual world where there are millions of old garlands, or what's going on. You eat something, but the plant doesn't become diminished. So we are yet to understand. And we won't understand by mundane speculation, or even by transcendental speculation. It is as it is. It has its own way of working. Krishna himself, of course, describes himself in Bhagavad Gita several times as Avyayah. Ajopi san avyayatma bhutanam ishvaropi san prakritim swamadhishtaya sambhavami atmamayaya. Translation of this verse: although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, still, Krishna says, I appear within material nature by my own energy or my own desire or by my mercy. This Atma Maya can be understood to mean by my own energy, by my own desire, by my own mercy. So this is an essential understanding that although Krishna appears to be in many ways like an ordinary human being, and if he didn't, then there wouldn't be so much fun of interaction with him. If you dealings with him, interaction with him, if you always think he's God and you're always in great awe, then how we have pastimes, and just whenever he walks or anyone sees him, they gasp and fold their hands. Then how is he going to have any friends? It'd be a very lonely life if everyone is just totally awed by you. Actually, we need a Telugu translation also. There's this one girl here. I know she'll understand all this anyway. So, he appears in many ways to be ordinary, but he isn't. His body, his transcendental form, moves. We say his form, that's the way the language is constructed. And that's the way our thinking goes. But he is his form. So he moves around in the world and in many ways appears to be ordinary, as Arjuna will state upon seeing the universal form of Krishna, that, well, we've been living together, laughing together, joking together, lying down on the same bed together, fighting together. Now I understand how great you actually are. So Krishna appears to be like an ordinary person, but he's not. He isn't born, that's another name, Aja, which will come up, nor does he die. So it should never be considered that Krishna is an ordinary person. He's Avyayah. Our bodies are subject to destruction, but not Krishna's. He doesn't die, he doesn't diminish, he doesn't get wrinkles, he doesn't need a hearing aid, he doesn't need glasses, he doesn't need digestive pills. He has full strength and energy not even from the moment he appears from his mother's womb, even before that. Otherwise, why are the demigods coming to pray to him when he's in the womb? Right up to the last second. And even when that pastime of leaving the world, it's just a pastime. He can't be killed by anything whatsoever. Every weapon in the universe is completely incapable to do any slight harm to Krishna. You see these cartoons and these movies of someone in a war and he's fighting and they throw some bombs at him, they shoot him and he just goes on fighting. Prabhupada on a plane, there was some movie like that. And there was throwing grenades at him and shooting him, and he just goes on. And Prabhupada just turned sarcastically to himself and said, "Still alive?" But actually Krishna's like that. There's nothing you can do to kill him. It's impossible. He's unkillable. When it's said about the soul, avinashi, that's true, but not the body. But Krishna, his soul and his body are the same. So Krishna is never killed. Now this term, Avyayah, Krishna uses to describe himself in various contexts, because he appears within the material world and he interacts with the material world, and so it may appear that he is part of the material world or that he's affected by the material world, but he uses this term Avyayah to emphasize his categoric difference to the world. Categoric? You got lost with that word? I don't know the Tamil word. I don't know the Hindi word for that matter. Bilkul, you could say. Complete difference. But categoric means, well, he's in a completely different class. Alak Shreni. Shreni Bhuta. Make up some word. Shreni Atmaka. Make up some word as you go along. You can do that in Sanskrit. I don't know about in Hindi. So, Chatur Vanyam Maya Shrishtam Guna Karma Vibhagashaha Tasya Kataram Apimam Vidya Kataram Avyayam. Krishna says that the four varnas, or social orders, are my creation, are created by me, according to the divisions of guna, means the three modes of material nature, and karma, means work. And Krishna says that even though I made them, therefore I'm the creator, I'm the doer, you should know me to be the non-doer. So Krishna directly contradicts himself. In one line he says, I am the karta, and in the next line he says, you should know me as the akarta, the non-doer. I am the doer, I am the non-doer. And then the term avyayam, which means that Krishna is indestructible. So, what's the solution to this puzzle? Krishna, as he states, he makes the point in this verse, he creates the modes. But he's also not the doer, he's not entangled with the actions and reactions of that, as he states shortly afterwards. Namang karamani limpanti name karma phalespriya. I am not actually involved in work. Krishna is always aloof from the actions and reactions of this world, although he appears to be in this world and acting within it, he is nato natyadharo yataha. He is like an actor on a stage. An actor on a stage, he kills someone. But it appears to kill someone. When he comes off the stage, there's not a police force waiting to arrest him, because it's an act. He's not actually involved in that. So the persons in the audience may take it very seriously, but those who know, they know it's just an act. So actually all the activities of this material world, as the great bard, as they call him, Shakespeare noted, the world is but a stage. There's no substantial reality to it whatsoever. So Krishna, although he apparently acts within the world, he's quite aloof from it. And he doesn't get involved in the actions and reactions, and therefore he remains as he is. Or rather, he is as he is, and therefore either way you take it, he doesn't get involved in all of that. As he states again, Tribhir Gunamaya Bhavaya, what is it? Abhi Sarvamedang Jagat, Mohitang Nabhijanati Mamebhya Paramavyayam. Similar statement Krishna makes. That the three, this whole material world is pervaded by and directed by the three modes of material nature. Everyone is bewildered by that, and therefore they don't understand me, who I am superior to all of this. Again, in a different category. And Avyayah. By the three modes, the actions and reactions of the three modes of material nature, by them there is creation, maintenance, and destruction. It's an ongoing spool or a kaleidoscope. But Krishna is, again, in a completely different category. He's not part of this cycle of creation, maintenance, and destruction. He's aloof. He's always in the indestructible position. Then that point, that this idea that Krishna is a manifestation of the impersonal, which he again merges back into the impersonal. In other words, his form ceases to exist. Horrible idea of the Mayavadis. That is directly by Krishna himself repudiated. Avyaktam vyaktim apanam manyante mam abuddhaya param bhavamajananto mamavyayam anuttamam. Again, Avyaya, indestructible. This word refutes the foolish people's idea that Krishna is a manifestation of the impersonal. Nahang prakasha sarvasya yogamaya samavrita mudho yang nabhijanati loko mam ajam avyayam. Again, and similarly, Krishna says, I'm not manifested to everyone. Nahang prakasha sarvasya yogamaya samavrita. He is covered by his yogamaya potency, therefore foolish people cannot properly know him, who is Aja, unborn, and Avyaya, indestructible. He's not born and he doesn't die. Though he appears to be born and appears to die. Mahatma nastu mang parata, daiving prakriti mashrita, bhajantyananya manaso gyatva ma. I'm getting mixed up. What is that? Mahatma nastu mang parata, Vimashita bhajantyananya manaso gyatva bhutadi avyayam. Yes. So here again, Avyaya, bhutadi. Krishna is exists prior to the manifestation of this material world, and he is indestructible. Even when everything in this world is destroyed, Krishna will continue to exist. And actually, as the Purusha avatar, the whole universe, when it's destroyed, enters into him who remains indestructible. So in this way, then we'll also find they're all so many of these terms are interrelated. He is the Adhara, he is the, that will come up in just two Purusha, Adhara, I think the next one. So that will come up, how he is the, Adhara means the receptacle in which everything rests. So all these terms, I was going to do another word today, but it's a big one. So I'll do that, I'll go into that tomorrow. So that's Krishna, indestructible. You've all understood it completely now, is it? No. Indestructible. Oh, wait a minute, there are so many other meanings, I didn't even look at them. Let's go over to here. Yeah, this Parashara Bhatta gives the meaning. Why Paramatma is Paramatma and why he's accepted as Muktaan. Why he is accepted as Muktanam Paramagatihi. That Avyayah here is translated as one who does not send back anyone who has reached him. He does not send them back to the cycle of birth and death. So here the word is broken down to mean non-returning or non-redispatching. Naviyate. Naviyate na vyapagamyate iti avyayah. He does not send anyone back to the world of birth and death. And this Parashara Bhatta quotes from the Yama Smriti to support that. Avyayah. Avyayah, obviously the word Avyayah, it's derived from Vyayah, which means expenditure or destructible. So Avyayah means indestructible. Okay, there's not so much there. Hare Krishna.